Hey sis, and welcome to episode 3 of the Balanced Woman podcast. I see y'all keep coming back. I feel the vibes. I feel the energy. The community is building. Okay, I am here for it. All right. So today we are going to sit down with someone who is passionate about helping women embrace their authentic selves in the world when you're constantly pushing for perfection. Now, we know where this comes from, right? As women, we have been scrutinized since the before time, as I like to call it. But even more so now, in the age of social media, it can be really difficult to remember who you are, the worth and value that you have in this world, and to be kind to yourself. We live in a world right now where everything is filtered, everything is aesthetic. And if you're not with that, you are not pleasing of this world. I don't know if you're anything like me, but sometimes we fall into that comparison trap, right? We're looking at what the next woman has, how she presents herself to the world, and we forget that we have just as much value and worth as she does. This is why I thought it was more than important to make sure that we brought somebody on like Michelle McKinney. Michelle is a best-selling author and a family and life coach. She is going to talk to us today about how we can shift our mindset towards self-love, self acceptance, and build confidence in who we are on a daily basis, accepting ourselves, flaws, and all. Okay, we want to make sure that you guys put a routine in place that will foster a healthy version of self love and self confidence. So, if you've been struggling with self love, or if you just need a reminder to be kinder to yourself, this episode is for you. Michelle, welcome to the podcast. Let me down. Welcome, Michelle, to the podcast. To kick things off, I would just love for you to introduce yourself, tell a little bit about what inspired you on this journey. I know you do a little bit of everything now in regards to mental health, but what made you want to get started?
Okay, so I am Michelle McKinney. I'm an author, I'm a veteran, I'm a cancer survivor, I'm a motivational speaker. I love skin care, hair care, and men's products, just anything that makes us be who we are, does not take away from our flaws, but actually enhances our flaws. Um, thank you for Jessica for having me here today. And let's see what else a little bit myself. I'm married. I have two dogs. I'm a blended family. I love doing work in the community. I love helping our children to include our adults, teens, everybody in that audience, ensure that they have mental health and they're in a state of well-being from the inside out, but always our mind. So if we don't take care of our mind, we're not going to be able to take care of anything else in our body.
That's right. I love that. Well, thank you again for your service. I know I told you a little bit earlier, but I think that's incredibly important, especially as a woman of color out
Mm,
here, not only serving your country, but leading the country. So I more than appreciate you.
thank you.
Also, you named something that I think like segues us right into the episode, which is about taking care of yourself first, both internally and externally.
Mhm.
Which definitely, off on the side, gonna have to hit you up for the skin and the hair care because this pro gets out of control sometimes. But I would love to know how you have. Oh gosh, I want to make this a pretty question, but I don't think it can be.
Now,
How
just say
how
it.
you have found that society, specifically women, are impacted by like all those social pressures, right? From whether it's like just in the community, but even more so with social media, because I'm sure, our generation coming up, we didn't have it that heavy, but
No.
now it's really heavy. It's impacting a lot of women and the way they see themselves.
So I think where it still starts with us.
Mm,
So what we say with our company, Ugly Essentials, you got to love yourself.
mm,
Right. So I think with all of those pressures now, to include like with our children, we have, well, no, we even have it as adults. We have cyberbullies.
yeah,
Right. So with that being said, we have to get to a space that we have nothing but positive energy come in so we can have positive things come out. Right. So it's all about your mindset, your how do you think of yourself. I say it that this way. We all have an inner child.
yep,
And sometimes we, throughout our journeys, and specifically probably with our age, late 40s on above, going into our 50s, and some of us into our 60s, right? That we learned from our parents.
Hmm.
And sometimes we don't want to take that and say, oh, well, they did it, so I can do it the same way they did. But what we have to really realize is that back then we didn't have social media. So we
Yep.
didn't have this whole thing of looking at your body, looking at your face, and feeling societally approved. So we have to get back to, I really say it, some people think it's corny, but it's really not, that number positive energy coming in,
Yeah.
affirmations. Hey, I say there's a new thing on TikTok, and it's like everything is working out for me. Everything is working
Yeah.
out for me. Everything is working out for me, working out for me, working out for me. So those type of things, and then to the mind. The mind is a sponge, and it's repetitious. So if we don't put things consistently and it won't never get into our muscle memory. It won't be able to form a habit. It takes 14 days every day to actually form a habit. So we have to just do better with that. And then, two, we're in a society now that for whoever, we need everyone to be thinking and praising whatever higher being that you have,
Mm.
right? Because again, like you said earlier, today is not promised. And the more we live in the present moment, and not in the past, and not trying to internalize the future, which is cognizant dissonance, then we'll just be in a better state. And then, two, understanding that everybody is not part of your tribe. I think that's what a lot of times for us women, we want female relationships because we should have that. Especially if you're in a relationship, it's just not about you and your spouse. And of course you come together as one, but you
Right.
still have your individuality.
Hmm.
Right. So if you lose your individuality, you can't be the best version of yourself and what your higher being wants you to be. So we have to try to find a way to any type of coping mechanisms to, hey, that's not about me. Because a lot of times people project,
Yep.
and the projection is not about us, it's about them.
Hmm.
So then it goes back to what I was saying about the inner child. If once we elevate our inner child to be the best version of themselves, then we internally as human beings can be our best version of ourselves. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it was
Okay.
perfect actually because it brought so many things to mind, even for myself. Because you mentioned a little bit of mindfulness initially,
Yes.
right? Like being in that present moment, identifying what's going on. And I feel like that's scary. And that's where
Yes.
I hit my barrier myself with my inner child because my inner child likes to run. We run. We run physically, we run emotionally, we run
Right.
away. And so I don't even want to face the fact that I'm comparing myself to somebody on social media
Right.
or face the fact that there's some discomfort I have with my image or the way I'm loving myself. And so I think that's like usually that first step that we have to kind of
Yes.
come to terms to and like acknowledge it. And then it's so hard
Yes.
too, because to your point, there are some positive aspects you could get from social media and like the community and being the
Mhm.
girl's girl and all that.
That's right.
And you just have to be so mindful of, hey, even if this is positive, right? Somebody's talking about working out, somebody's talking about affirmations or whatever else, you might still have this negative thought coming up about how you don't do those things and how that makes
Absolutely.
you less than.
Absolutely.
So another thing you said that like hit me to my core was that you mentioned that, in our generation, things were just so different. And I know that makes us sound super old, but like it was
No.
just and I say we because I was,
Yes.
I was a little deep diving in all your things, all your social media and all your websites and stuff. But we kind of grew up in that age when all that stuff
Yes.
started, right? When we started
Yes.
having emails, we started having all those things. And so I think that even with the parents that we had, they didn't have to teach us those things, right? Like there was a certain level of resilience that wasn't built because they
Absolutely.
didn't even exist. And so what would you say, or what advice would you give to women who are just like brand new, just recognizing like, oh, this is an issue, and whether the issue is popping up from comparing themselves on social media, or just maybe they just gone through something in life that's impacting their ability to see themselves in that way?
Right.
How would you encourage them to make that first step towards that mindset shift?
Well, first of all, I'd say that, hey, you're beautiful no matter what,
Yes.
right? You're beautiful. And don't let anyone tell you different. And then, second thing I would say is our feelings, thoughts are not fact,
Yes.
right? They're not facts. So we have to, again, it's everything starts with the mind. The mind is so powerful. It can make, as you know, it can make a woman think she's pregnant and she's not pregnant,
Yeah.
right? Chemical pregnancy. So if you let your mind run free, your life will be in chaos. So you have to ensure that we figure out, okay, I- why. It's really your why, right? So when you feeling like, well, I feel like this, say for example on social media, someone put a post out, right? And
Hmm.
then it'll have you feeling like, are they talking about me? Or they talking to somebody else? Because we
Yeah.
have a lot of subliminal messages that go through on Facebook, because we have a lot of passive aggressiveness. We have all of that, right? So the first thing we have to ask ourselves, I would tell them to ask is, why are you feeling that way?
Mm.
What's causing you to feel that way? And it's okay to have fear, right? But try not to let the fear take over your whole entire mindset. So then it stagnates you and it doesn't let you be your authentic self. So fear, all that anxiety, all that's all because of fear. Overthinking. I used to be an overthinker. Sometimes I still am,
Yep.
right? Uh, so we have to figure that piece out. And then also not to run away with it, but to sit in that moment. So then you're like, okay, and that might be, I know it's going to be scary because it was scary for me at first.
Yeah.
So will there probably be some emotions with that? Yes. Um, but it's okay. It's truly okay, because if we don't, whatever we don't deal with from our past or within us, it's going to pop up in your adult life.
Mm.
It'll pop up in your relationships. It'll pop up in your business. It'll pop up in everything. And sometimes we don't see that. But like you said earlier, the first most important thing is to identify it and then accept it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not you. Now, if there comes a point that it might be you, you still need to ask why. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Why am I did I do that? Let me check myself. you
Right.
know, Let me have some self awareness. A lot of us in today's society don't know what self awareness is. So that's why we got people walking around here giving terms to everyone that, oh, they're a narcissist, or they're
Mm.
this, they're that. Well, maybe they might be displaying those characteristics, but maybe it's because they had some trauma and they don't know the healthy way, not the right way, the healthy way to live, because they're still living in whatever that moment is.
Right.
So we really just have to sit down and be with ourselves. And it's okay. And you don't have to, it's all about winning the war, not the battle.
Mm.
So some people want to win the battle. No, I don't. I want to win the war. Now, is there going to be sticklers in between those battles? Yes. But as long as you are focused, you are determined, you have a plan.
Yeah.
Some of us sometimes don't have accountability partners, but you just have to really dig down and deep. Everything that you see on social media is, a lot of times, it's a facade. Some of
Mm.
us are really trying to live our authentic, intentional life on social media. A lot of us, some people are not. And we just got to do better, no matter what ethnic background we come from. But really, in our own culture, we have to do better, because we have so much. I think that's what happens too, why we have so much competition versus collaboration.
Mm. Yes.
I think that's because whatever the I don't pay it any mind now. Now in this journey, in my civilian life, well, at first in the military, I didn't have time to be on social media. Really, these last years, I didn't have time. Yeah, right. So now I don't, I don't take anything serious.
Mm,
And then two, I read a book from Miguel Ruiz. He has a few books, but the main one is about the agreements, right? So I always try to ensure I don't take anything personal.
yeah.
I try to be impeccable with my word every time and to be intentional. So that's my mantra for every day. I would hope that everybody has some type of routine or thing that they do to motivate them, like we were talking about this morning,
Yeah,
right? You
that's what I was
know,
about to say. I think that that's a like perfect point because that I was already thinking about like how did you create that routine? Because I know that you were in the military, they kept you busy.
Mhm.
I did my time as well. You did way
Thank you
more
for
than
your
me.
service.
But
Right.
yeah, oh no, thank you
Thank
for the
you.
support. Really, all praise to you because you stayed longer than me. But I think about the fact that even they function off routines, right? And so, and
Yes.
then coming into the civilian world, I heard you kind of mention that same thing that you kept up like your routines. How did you work in like this kind of like self love practice or this daily practice of like building yourself up?
I had to be intentional.
Mm. Oh, that's so hard. It's so hard. Because I'm projecting a little bit here, I'll be honest. But even in the work that we do, I'm sure you even have come
Yes.
across clients and you've done summits and everything else. So like I'm sure you've seen it or heard it where women are like, where do I find that time to be intentional? Right? Like how do I fit it in? And I know for me it took me to your point, like being in the present moment, being mindful, thinking about what I was missing. But then that was the first barrier I hit is now how am I gonna sit here when am I gonna do that? Right? I wake up, I got these kids, then I got work, and I'm going back and get these kids, and then and it just starts to lead to overwhelm or overthinking
Yes.
because you're trying to figure
Yes.
out where to put it instead of just doing it. So that's what I'm curious about because I'm even like sitting here thinking to myself, like, when did I start doing? But like I don't know if you could think back.
So when I which was very hard for me because I don't know how to sit down, right?
Same.
My husband would say, "You always got something going on." Up to this morning. He's like, "Well, what you got to do this morning?" I said, "Babe, you don't remember?" He's like, "You be doing so much, I can't remember. I can't remember." That's why we got a calendar now on the wall.
Same. Yep.
Right? So for me, I had to sit down. What really helped me is getting closer with my relationship with God. I wasn't there. I was there. I had one foot in, one foot out.
Yeah.
Right. So I wasn't really being obedient to him, which means that I wasn't truly loving on myself. Because
Mm.
that's all he wants us to do, really, is to be our best version of ourselves. But we also have to be mindful and we have to listen, all of that.
Yep.
That obedient is just, I don't want to do that. I want to sleep, or I got this done. I got to get this done. So
Yep.
we have to, even if it means you have to sit down and write out what you do on a daily basis, and then find in between there. So I'm a really good multitasker, right? Uh,
Really. Yep.
but I had to slow down with that because you can't. If you're constantly multitasking, you cannot be successful just in one thing, right? On all of them. So you have to pick, and then okay, I'll go back to that. So it's even prioritizing, just prioritizing it yourself. That okay, I need to do this. I need to make sure I go to my doctor's appointments. I need to make sure I just find time to just sit with myself in a quiet space, because then your mind is always racing. So what you have to really do is try to decompress your brain.
Mm.
And when you're able to do that, and a lot of times it's helpful to do that from writing it down, journaling or whatever, so then you can really see it in front of your face and be like, oh, that's a lot. Because we're not thinking about that at that moment. We just think
Right.
about, okay, I got to do this, got to take the kids, I got to take something out the freezer so I can cook dinner the next day. I have to pay bills. I have to make
Mhm.
phone calls. I got to be around some worrisome people, all of that. So if you write it down, then it's easier for your mind to really see it versus, oh, I'm doing it, but I'm not really paying attention to it. So you really have to try to be, the flesh has to really try to be more smarter than your brain, if
Yeah.
that makes sense, right? And you just have to accept it. Everything is always with acceptance. So you have to accept, like, if I don't do this for myself, my health is going to deteriorate some kind of way because stress kills us in different ways that we don't even know,
Yeah.
right? Emotional stress is even worse. So we have to, it still goes back to you making it a priority, writing it down, find where you have the spaces, to do this. And then even if you do it like one thing at a time, if you write all your stuff down and you see like in the mornings that you have absolutely no time for yourself, then try to find it somewhere in the afternoon. Or if you get a break, then be in that moment when you have that break and then
Mhm.
do something for you. So that's what I did. I kept moving, moving, moving. And then now I really didn't get it until probably about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, that that stuff can wait. It'll be all
Mm.
right. I'm going to get my nails done. That's what
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what I'm
cute.
saying?
Yeah.
So I got to go get my hair done. I just want to sit in quiet. I don't want nobody calling me. I don't
Yeah.
want anybody asking me to do nothing. I just want to sit in here in this space. So sometimes you got to take it. You got to take it. But your our I say our other personalities in our brain. Um, I used to have five, all named, but
Hmm.
now they're all come together as Michelle, right? Shelly's not sitting here around like, girl, I can't do this, I can't do that. And Dee was like, I ain't taking that trash out. That trash can wait. I'll let my husband take that out. So my OCD doesn't take over.
Hmm.
Right? So it's just
Hmm.
those, they might sound like minute things, but they really are big things. So
Yes.
when you start doing that for yourself and doing it consistently, it will come. It will be there. Even if you need, and I see, I used to have all my affirmations right here on my wall, but now I'm making new ones. So I got to put them up here. Another one is I have to always remind myself, you have to think about yourself before you think about anybody else. So that goes into some of them spirits, people pleasing, right? I was a people pleaser, didn't even know it, but
Mm.
I got that from my mom. That's a generational DNA curse,
Yeah.
right? And I say curse because our parents and everyone else before us did all they could at that time. Whether
Right.
they didn't have the resources, they went off their own history, what they saw with their mother and father, whatever. But at this day and age, all the technology and everything we have, that's why there should be no reason why not to be intentional because
Yeah.
we have the resources. We have the resources. So when you don't do that, it's you. It's not anybody else. It's you.
That's
It's
right.
us. So we got to do better with that by us. And for example, I had said to somebody the other day, they're going through something and they're in the school system and they they just waiting around for their doctor to call them. And I got to a point that uh I used to always interject or put my recommendation in without being asked, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
That's all part of that people pleasing, when we overshare, when whatever. So when you have to look at that, step back out of yourself and be like, why am I talking all the time? Again, it goes back to that why. I ask myself why in everything, even if I'm in a conversation. Like, why are you here? Why are you and Jessica doing this? We have a purpose. So that's why we're being intentional about our purpose,
That's right.
right? So when it comes to yourself, and like I said to that young lady, and I think they got a little bit upset, but it's not. it's only your responsibility to make sure you are okay and what you have to do for you to stay on this earth. We can give up excuse. I didn't even say we'd give up excuse because I know that would have been taken in the wrong way. See, that's that mind
Yep.
talking, right? So you
Yep.
got to shut that mind out. That if you don't make it a priority, no one else is not going to make it a priority. Nobody at your job, not your children, not your parents, not your friends. You have to do it. And then after once you do it, then everybody else will follow suit.
That's right.
You know, but and then two, we have to realize I learned this in the army, in the military. My mentor had told me, he was a 4-star general at the time. He said the military is an organization. Um, they want numbers. They do numbers. They want executors. They want thinkers. So with that being said, they don't care if you get sick, because just sick as you get sick, they're gonna replace somebody or have somebody else to do that job.
Yep.
It hurts to hear that to some people. Well, they need me. If I'm not there, nothing's gonna get done. Well, it'll be all right. Let it be. I love Mel Robbins. I love
Oh
that woman.
yeah.
I love her. And it's so simple what she says and so profound, but it's so difficult to even do that because we're not looking at what's inside of us, right? We're not trying to fix that inner child. Again, everything goes back to how we were, how we our DNA, how we learn things, and then two, everything is learned. You can unlearn it. You just have to have the resilience and the determination to do it.
That's true. Man, this one very impactful thing that you just mentioned that you did, and I don't think you realize how much of a gem it was. And so I got to reiterate it because you mentioned the example where you're giving that insight to the young lady. But another key thing you did was you identified, hey, there's this people pleaser that wants to speak up, and
Right.
she's like banging at the door, right? And the thing about people pleasing, or at least how I always relate it, is it has a lot to do with our self worth, right? And what we're doing for other people, we get that worth from it. And that determines how much we love ourselves or not, right? Because
Absolutely.
are we worthy
Absolutely.
of that love? Are we worthy of the love from other people? And so, to your point, it is really difficult to kind of shut that door on that people pleaser because she's constantly there saying, hey, love me so that I can love me,
That's
right?
right.
And so you checked yourself in that moment and like gave yourself so much value and reinforced the skills that you had learned while you were trying to give it to somebody else. And I'm just
Right.
like, I don't even think she realized how impactful that is. Because to your point, we're here for a purpose. And our purpose is driven by like what we do well or the
That's
skills
right.
that we build. And
Yep.
so in that moment, you literally painted a picture of like how you learned how to do it and how you're trying to teach someone else how to do that. And I mean, you've been hitting the nail on the head too with the mindset shift as well, because like I don't know, I always say that I went into mental health because I feel like it's so easy to track everything else that you might do well in life, but your mental health is
Yes.
so hard,
Yes.
right? Physical health, I can see if I'm losing the weight. I can go to a doctor and get my labs ran, or if I'm working on my relationship. I can tell the relationship's getting better if I'm
That's
there
right.
or if I left, or how we like all those things you can see it. And so I think that that's what makes the affirmations, the to-do list, the mantras, like you kept saying, put it in front of you. Because I think at some point you do start to become physical about it and it starts to
Yes.
become more helpful because I can see it. I can
Yes.
see myself marking off the to-do list. I can see that it's becoming easier for me to say these affirmations and believe them, right?
Hmm.
So I
Yes.
think, man, you just dropped so many gems. And I was like, I don't even think she knows how many gems she just dropped. And I had to make sure that they caught them because
Oh, you're
that
beautiful.
that is really, really powerful. Okay. I
Oh,
have
and
to
then
ask
too,
because,
but one thing I will say this too, that I didn't mean to cut you off, is
yes,
that that is
yeah,
is truly, truly a thing that we have to do better with ourselves, which all those will align together, is giving
yeah.
ourselves grace. We have
Oh,
to give
please.
ourselves
Yes,
grace.
yes.
If we don't give ourselves grace, then you're not going to be able to be the best version of yourself because you're going to beat yourself up. Because some people are competitors,
Mm,
right? And it sometimes would look like you're competing against yourself.
mm.
So we have to give ourselves grace. Cancer made me give grace to myself. Yeah. My mother's cancer. My mother died of pancreatic cancer. Um, and now it's 23 years. So 6 weeks before I went to officer candidate school.
Oh, wow. My goodness.
Yeah. So needless to say, a year after that was when I was able to start grieving because I had to be in school for almost a whole year and a half.
Yeah.
So plus my mother was a registered nurse, and she's a little social butterfly too. Well, she really not a butterfly. She is a butterfly, but I'm the social butterfly out of the children.
Yeah.
Um, but she always used to say that. She was truly a woman of God. I mean, truly a woman of God. So that grace thing, yeah, we got to, even if you have to put a sticker up every day, like give yourself grace. I have a recording that I say, that I make sure I listen to every day on my phone, a voice memo. Give yourself grace, Michelle. Give yourself grace. When you're dealing with things that you're really not you're not comfortable with, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace.
You're mentioning grace, and that literally was where I was going to segue into anyway, because man, I think we give ourselves grace so much when we don't show up for other people. But what
Right.
I would love to hear you speak about for a minute is what that grace looks like when we give it to ourselves, because it's so often that some of the women that I coach or I do therapy with, they think they're giving themselves grace if they didn't do their affirmations that day, or if they didn't do some of those self-care and self-love practices. And I'm like, oh no, that's supposed to be mandatory. Like it's the other stuff. So like, how do you, whether it's through your work or did you personally figure out where to place grace in your life, where to give yourself a little compassion?
Um, a lot of times I purposely do it.
Mm.
Like if I know I, and this is where sometimes a little overthink the I'm
Yep.
it's over great, it's overthinking, um, but it's also internalizing, right? That hey, I'm not sure how this is gonna go. You can do that with with certain situations, right? Especially with connections. You'll know that if you have a person that you're dealing with, friendship, whatever, any type of ship, and like say for instance conflict, we don't like conflict. I love conflict. I
Mhm.
think if you can, I'm not gonna say master, but be fully proficient in conflict, it will take a lot of stress out of your life. It will take a lot of assumptions. I don't assume. In the organization in the military, I don't. There's no assuming. There's nothing to abstract. It's smart goals. It's smart.
Yep.
You know, it's measurable. It's a fact. It can be all of that. So I don't assume. I used to assume that was part of the people pleasing.
Mm. Yep.
I know, like with that, sometimes it's as a now I feel healed from that, but sometimes you might slip back into that. So you have to just be very aware for yourself. And that's why I say give yourself grace. Like if I know it's all in that gut too. Your gut is not going to steer you wrong. Your mind might, but your gut is
Yeah.
not, right? So
Hmm.
it's something that you have to be intentional about. If you're not intentional, you're not going to do it. So you know, it really goes back to that. You got to be intentional. Um, that's a challenge. So then it still goes back to what we discussed. Write it down, journal it, so you can physically see it in your face. So then you're telling your mind, okay, we need to do this. So when I know, I again, if I'm in current in certain situations that make me feel then I'm like
Right.
Michelle, it's okay. Give yourself grace. It's okay. It's okay to feel that way because
Yeah.
you're how you're feeling, whatever you experience, the experiences that you have in life are valid.
That's right.
So we're not trying to be in here with these gaslighters.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people gaslight and don't even know they're doing it.
Yep.
What is that about? Because they got some things that they're not dealing with within themselves.
That's right.
You know, I will recommend to anyone to read a book called The Relationship Book.
Mm.
Um, I don't have it in here because I read it so much in the front room. Um, but it really helps you and learn or identify, be aware of certain things that you might be doing, and it might be doing with your friends. So, it goes into the levels of consciousness. It goes into the levels of attachment.
Yeah.
It goes into which falls into your relationship styles. You could be an avoidant, Miss Jessica. You can be an avoidant, right? Or you can be an anxious person,
Right.
right? And how that, once you decide, you differentiate which one are you and you identify with, if you look back, and that book will help you look back and see, reflect, oh, I do that. So if I run from conflict, if I run from not expressing my feelings, I just rather just go be by myself and not talk to anybody. That's an avoidant.
Yeah.
When you got preoccupied avoidance, you got anxious avoidance, right? So then you have the truly anxious person, that where the people pleasing comes in, the overthinking comes in. Um, they overshare.
Mm-hmm.
No, because that's something in us. Why? Why do we want to overshare? Why are we trying to say so much about ourselves? And something else that I see at, I used to find myself talking all the time in a connection, right?
Right.
Um, and then I realized that's not a friend. That's a one. That's it's not being reciprocated.
Mm.
So that's another thing that I say. Like, God has me in transition. Has me in transition for the last 3 years on everything. I have totally pivoted with my friends groups, my tribe, all of that. And then we have to really realize, look about titles. Titles sometimes get us in a lot of trouble with our own well being, right? Because we'll besties, my
Ah.
boo thing. So
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
person of tears, of words of endearment and affirmations. I mean, of words, right? I love words. So if I give you a pet name, oh girl, you my ride or die.
Yeah.
We dying together, right? We're gonna be over there at the ceremony at the cemetery in the same plot together, right? But what I had to
Mm-hmm.
realize is some of those titles I was given to people, they weren't deserving of it. Why? Because I had to sit back and sit in it on my floor, and that's a one-sided relationship, Michelle. I need you to stop doing that. It's okay, but I need you to stop doing that, because what happens when your cup is you're filling up everybody else's cup, and your cup is done, is depleted, but they still looking for you to continuously do for them. I had to learn that the hard way. And it's
Yeah.
really probably more impactful for us women than anybody else, because we're emotional nurturing some of us, some of us, some of us,
Yeah.
some of us, right? So we have to be mindful of that.
Yeah.
And people like, it's okay. There goes that grace. It's
That's
okay.
right.
You know, you're only doing what you thought was right and for you, but it really wasn't, you know. So the more that we become educated,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to even say mindful, but observant of us, and then actually executing to put us first. So I know that's difficult. I know
Yeah.
that's difficult, but it starts with us. It starts with us. And then when we look at our children, again, all our kids are grown, grown children, adult
Mm-hmm.
children, those man childs and girl childs.
Yes.
Okay. That we have ourselves almost 20 years younger than us, but they adults now, and they not
Yeah.
adulting. They're not adulting healthy, right? We have to look, I have to accept the things that I can't control.
Mm.
I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not you. We felt and we've done all our lives. Well, if I don't do it, what if they'll happen? They'll be all right. They'll figure it out. They ain't got no choice. But if you keep figuring it out for them, we're enabling
Yep.
part of that people pleasing spirit.
Exactly. Ooh, Michelle. Ooh, you have me over here like I'm finna get this book. I gotta talk to my inner child a little bit more. Like I gotta do some deeper work here. I see why now. Your whole thing is about empowering people because I definitely feel empowered. And I did
Good.
not wake up this morning wanting to do anything with my journey, my health
Right.
journey.
Right.
But this was so, so good. So, Michelle, I got to throw you out there. Where can everybody connect with you? Tell us a little bit about this book. Y'all, Michelle has a best-selling book, okay? Tell us a little bit about the book. Tell us how we can connect with you and how people can work with you.
Okay, so my books, well actually I have all my books are bestsellers
Shut
actually, and
up. Oh,
international
so look, drop
bestsellers.
the gems. Come on.
So my first book, this is my first book. I
Yeah.
did an anthology.
Oh, beautiful.
So it's us and eight other ladies, right? And we're all from different walks of the military. So it's called Becoming the Shiro. And what we wanted to do in here is to give gems, tell us about some stories that are able to, because everyone has a testimony. I would tell everybody needs
Yeah,
to write a book. Everybody needs to write a book and write your testimony because you do not know how it's going to impact somebody else,
that's right.
right? So this book here, I talked about when I got diagnosed
Mm.
because I was misdiagnosed.
Oh, oh, look. See, oh, yeah. I have to get that.
So I talked about that in here, and I talked
Mhm.
about um, okay, no, that people, no matter what you go through, you will get through it as long as you think positive and you work hard to it, right? So that was that one
Mhm.
about. And then Reach, Teach, and Lead, we talked about mentorship and mentees. So I spoke about my mentor, one of my good mentors who I'm still in contact with today, and how he impacted my whole entire life. And then I have a devotional that it's a 365. So there's 365 authors in that book. And every day there's a
Wow.
devotional from us. And then my currently book that's out now, well, it's in production right now. It's
Hmm.
called Unshaken, Building Resilience Through Faith and Self-Care. So it's a 31-day devotional
Oh,
that
beautiful.
you can write in it, and it's for all walks of life. So teens can use it, can use it and apply for their life. Young adolescents, us adults, and to include our seniors, because mental health is for everybody. It's not just
Yeah,
for, oh, if you're over 50, let's talk about your mental health journey. No, that's not what it really is about. It's for everyone, for everyone. So I wanted to do a journal with some activity steps, a prayer, some challenges, and then for you just to write um, for every day that you continuously use whenever. If you can read it through, use it for 1 month. Maybe you might need to go through it again next month, and it might be totally different because our journeys are all changed.
yep,
Yeah. So what you might have gone through in the month of February is might be something totally different that you go through in the month of March.
that's right.
So I just wanted it to be applicable for everyone, and to enjoy. Uh, Mental health, we have to do better with mental health. I am on, my website is www.IamMichelleMcKinney with two M's.com. And you can reach me on Instagram as I am Michelle McKinney, and Facebook as Michelle McKinney, and Ugly Essentials online. All of our skincare, all of that is on our Instagram page too as well.
Perfect, perfect. I love how you not only talk about the importance of things, but then you do it in all areas because you talked about the mantras and the affirmations, and then you create this whole book that's like, there you go. Like, no excuses. Get it together. I'm definitely going to make sure everything is linked in the comments or the caption
Okay.
below so everybody can click and play because they're just like me. We're all about convenience and we ain't got no time. So we want to make sure we
Right.
get what we need to get.
That's right.
Michelle, thank you so much for joining my podcast.
Well,
This
thank
is
you for
going to
having
be,
me.
oh, no, no, anytime. This was so, so good. Y'all, we did it. Another episode in the books. Episode 3 is officially live. I'm not going to do the happy dance, y'all. Y'all thought it was coming. I know. I know I'm a chill, okay? Thank you guys so much for joining this episode. If this resonated with you, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, if you're someone that's struggling to find time for yourself to ensure that you're able to put these very things we talked about today into practice in your routine, you need to work with me. In my one-on-one coaching, I help you build systems and routines in place to take you from overwhelmed to organized. The idea is that we stop that cycle of burnout, sis, so that you take better care of yourselves. Remember, balance is not something you find, it's something you create. Until next time.